Hello, it's Nikki. Welcome back. I am so glad that you're here. This is going to be a pen and paper one. So if you want to find out more about content, where you go, what the direction is, this is going to be a really great checklist for you. So feel free to pause and then go and get your pen and paper and come back. I bumped into a friend yesterday who said to me, "How do you create so much content? I see your stuff all the time." And that wasn't, "I've been having so many DMs about my skincare, so I thought I would share this thing." This was very much a real life conversation. And she's another small business owner, and we always have these kind of chats. And I just happened to bump into her in the street yesterday. And I had a lot to say around content. I mean, we moved on to other things as well, but I thought I would share it with you and why I do that. And I guess the meaning behind it, and maybe you could take some pieces of this and apply it to your own business. So the first things that I want to say around content is how they match my goals. And I think this is really important in your business or your life to know what's important to you. What are your measures of success? And if you're not sure, let's have a chat. This is exactly what I do in my strategy sessions, in my Ask Me Anything sessions, long-term, short-term courses. That is a really big piece of it, really defining what is important to you. So to give you some examples here of why I create content and how they match my goals. The first one, to give. I have a huge feeling in myself, in my business, in my life, and I'm not perfect all the time, nobody is, but I really want to give to people, to give people what they want, to give people what I now have that maybe didn't have before, and really pay it forward. And so by creating a lot of free content, I'm able to do that, and I'm able to do that effectively. There's no commitment from anybody else. They can just consume what they need to. The podcast is there. It's been there for 5.5 years almost. And I think there's like 800 episodes there now. And that remains open and fresh and free, etc. The second thing is I want to scale my business, and I am not doing these in order. I am doing these as well as, but I just want to give you some kind of clear pointers to think about how these could apply to you. So I want to scale my business without a huge team. I have got no desire at this age and stage in my life to manage a big agency with employees and stuff, like all of it. I am not at that capacity in my life right now. And this was really confusing for me because everybody was telling me, like, you've just got to have this enormous team. You've got to create this almost like big train that you have to operate. And I had such resistance in my life and in my business until I realized my circumstances are not in alignment with that right now. And I feel that because Matt works away quite a bit, I'm often the person at home. I've got 2 little people, one who's not at school yet. And it's really important that I am able to manage those moving parts as well. But yet, I'm ambitious. I want to scale. I want to help more people. And so looking at content, looking at technology has been the way that I've gone in this circumstance. Number 3, my aim is always to build a portfolio of work so decisions are more straightforward. I know that there are so many coaches out there who teach a method of sliding people into people's DMs or just getting people on cold calls, or there's so many autobiographies over the years where people say, we just turned up on somebody's door, or we wouldn't take no for an answer. And that isn't my personality at all. Also, I want to work with people who come to me, who are saying, I am ready. This is exactly what I need. I don't want to be pushing and sleazy and pressuring, and that is not a great use of my time. I would always rather create from that whole place, and then people find it, get what they need, and then come and have more. So also by building that portfolio of material, decisions are made more effectively. So again, I really dislike email trails that go on for, when you can kind of see like, this is the 27th one. I'm not into that at all. And so when I have a meeting with somebody, so say somebody discovers one of my videos on LinkedIn, and then a corporate gets in touch with me, somebody from a corporate company might say, we saw your video and we would love you to come and speak at our company. Great. Because I have that portfolio and people can, I guess, do their due diligence before we even get onto the phone. By the time we are getting onto the phone, we're just talking about the content. We're just talking about, okay, right, where do we go next? What's your availability? What do I get for this price? We're talking about the finer details by that point. I'm not in that position where I'm spending 2 hours on a phone call to convince somebody that I'm the right person for the job. Now, of course, there are times when I've pitched, and there are times where I audition or I put a submission in. I'm not saying that I just sit back and just wait for things to happen. There are certain things that I do that. But I don't want to be in that energy of thinking, please hire me the whole time. I would rather show people what I can do and then do that for them as well. The final thing, I want to make daily sales. And I don't want to run a business model that is like, I'm open for 3 months and then I'm closed for 3 months. For me, I would rather give people what they need when they need it. And I personally love that feeling of daily sales. So if my numbers are not where they should be, I can then make moves accordingly. I've tried launching. And some people might say, well, you haven't tried hard enough. It's very effective for me. Great. But for me, again, going back to that huge team, age and stage in life, I don't want to have that model where I say, right, I'm open for 2 weeks. And then one of my children gets chickenpox. I mean, they've now both had chickenpox. So hopefully that wouldn't be the case. But I've had those things before when I've put things in place or I've made plans, and then suddenly one of them gets ill or I get ill, and the whole thing kind of doesn't have the infrastructure for it to move forward. So at the moment, in terms of my business and other things are going on round about there, I want to build systems that allow people, again, to find my work and purchase when they need it. I also love that feeling that I can make money in my sleep. And maybe that's because I'm 41 and I can't quite believe that the internet allows you to do that. But I love that personally. I love that I can reach that global audience. I love it that I can provide maybe some help or thought when people wake up in the middle of the night saying, oh, I need that thing. Great, I'm going to purchase it. I can get access to it. I can get going on it. That feels really, really good to me. Finally, in terms of content, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about the algorithm. And you may already say, well, you should worry about it because we can't control it and we don't know what it's all about. And the viewing figures are not what they used to be. And I am not solely reliable in terms of having to present numbers to anybody else. The numbers are simply for me. But it's really important for me to use my energy wisely. If the algorithm is not seeing my stuff, that for me is an indication to get moving, to get busy, to think creatively, to look at different ways that I can do this. And instead of just getting in a blaming situation. So I've seen it in so many different areas, a lot of times in acting. The amount of people that will sit in audition rooms and they will moan openly that they haven't had many auditions or that their agent is a piece of work and they're lazy or whatever it is. And you just think, you're in this room now, you're in this space and people are looking to form an impression of you. And so where you can, try and park your frustration and try and get creative and look at different platforms, look at different ways of doing things, and try and use your energy wisely. Okay, so 3 things that have really helped me grow my content, grow my audience, make daily sales, and really use content for myself. And feeling enthusiastic about it. I think that's really important. And I think that's what my friend Rita was doing, was she was sort of saying, you feel like you enjoy making the stuff. It doesn't feel like a chore for you. Number 1, I have always been committed, and this has sometimes slapped me around the face as well, but I've always been committed to giving generously. I heard Pharrell Williams say this once, where he always has this intention of sending the elevator down. Now, I'm not saying I'm Pharrell Williams, or I'm not saying like I'm above somebody and I know all the answers, because believe me, I'm looking at the people further on than me as well. But this act of generosity is so important. And everybody's time is really, really precious right now. And when I am, sorry, I've got so many notes, that's why I don't want to miss anything. When I am setting about creating something and sharing what it is that I do, or a process, whether that's a podcast or a video or things like that, my aim of the game is always to say, how can I give more than is expected? How can I show things like that are really going on? And what I find is that there is so much emphasis in just giving like the tiniest little hint, and then trying to get people into a big program and over promising things. And then when people get in the big program, they're like, oh, okay, well, or if they get into the first stage. So there's been so many workshops over the years and webinars and seminars and all of those sorts of things where people give an enormous promise of what they're going to cover in the workshop. And I have to say, having watched hundreds of them probably over the years, I'm going to say 8 times out of 10. 8 times out of 10, a lot of it is just filling content. It's just sharing a few nice pictures of themselves, where they've been, who they know, and some vague numbers. That's what I've witnessed in this self-development space. So even though they're saying, I'm going to tell you in this workshop how to do X, Y, and Z, they actually don't. They're going to just share their stats or their things that they've done. If you want to know how to do it, you have to join the program. And what then happens is sometimes people end up buying things that they don't need, or, all of that sort of stuff. But back to the point, give generously. In my opinion, it will rarely do you wrong, because you become that person that people gravitate towards. People hunt out your stuff. People come back again and again. And I notice that with my podcast stats. When I look at them every day, yes, I do, because I'm a total geek, I notice that all of the episodes increase, because once people discover it, they go back again and again. It's called the Success Pick and Mix podcast, if you would like to check it out. But give generously. Make it worth somebody's time. And if you say that you're giving value, actually give it, because otherwise it's a false promise. Number 2, grow your business and grow your life. Sorry, that's a bit of a weird blanket statement. Over the last 10 years, since I've been qualified, my life has changed a lot. There's been lots of different things happening, not just in my personal life, in my family life, in my home life, in the way that we see the world, the technology, politically, culturally, socially, pandemically, the way that we work. I know pandemically is not a word, but you get the drift. And so it's really important that you bring some of yourself into your content. And I know, so let me give you an example. I've got my wet brush here, which this is not sponsored, clearly, but this is like one of my favorite beauty tools. I absolutely love it. Shall I just show you how it works? There we go, brushing my hair. This is my favorite brush. Use it every single day. If I was advertising this brush, which I'm not, I could get stuck in the trap of saying, well, look, I've shown everybody like how it sits on my dressing table now, and I've shown everybody how I brush my hair. I've run out now. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. So, for example, with this, in the last 3, nearly 4 years, I've had a daughter. She's very obsessed with hair. I might take this hairbrush that I'm trying to sell and talk about how I use it with my daughter, what kinds of time of day, where like different hairstyles she enjoys. She's really into an Elsa Platt at the moment, so she's a bit obsessed with Frozen. But I think sometimes we can discount our life too much because we're thinking about our business. And actually, there are so many pieces of you and where you're up to and what you're all about that are really, really crucial in terms of moving forward. Also, when you give from a real place, and sometimes a real time place, or sometimes it will be something that I've gone through 6 months ago and now I feel ready to talk about, you become relatable. People can feel engaged with you and in a conversation with you. And once again, in a faceless industry, or sometimes when things just feel so automated, people really want to be seen, and they want to be seen by you. Final point. I create content generally. Sometimes I will stretch myself, or sometimes I'll have a bigger project going on. I create content that is easy for me to create and is easy for me to be consistent. Now, I'm not saying it's a daily thing or like I always do X, Y, and Z, because sometimes life gets in the way, things get busy, or I'll say, oh gosh, I haven't uploaded that thing, really meant to do that today. Oh, it's going up a day later than I had planned. But generally, I am in this world of creating content. I'm kind of here for it. I know it's not going anywhere. I know it's a really useful marketing tool for me. So it's a great use and investment of my time. But I also know what works for my business and my client. And so my client is busy and quite overwhelmed, probably a lot of the time. So for them, a lovely, like snippy, snappy 3-point thing, as I'm looking at this clock, going 17 minutes, I've been wanging on. But they love those pieces of content that they can listen to in the car, they can have on YouTube whilst they're cooking dinner. That's where they're up to right now. If I said that they had to show up on Monday morning at 9 o'clock, they might not do that because they're just not in the position to be able to commit to that time. And I'm probably not either. Equally as well, I don't love technology and camera equipment and a sound person and to go out on location and create a 2-minute reel with loads of outfit changes or anything like that. For me, it's maybe not going to give me the return on the investment for where I'm going. So create content that is easy for you. If you're a writer, write. If you take amazing pictures, do that. If you make videos, podcasts, do that and share them more often. I think sometimes there's this assumption of saying, well, I created this and then I shared it once in stories, but I haven't had that many views. Think about how you can deconstruct it and talk about it in a different way. Imagine a Christmas dinner, for example, and I know that looks and feels very different for different people, but think about all the different components within that. Yes, you could keep saying, let's talk about Christmas dinner, but there are so many different things around that has potential for content. Maybe the meat or the vegetarian or the vegan option that you have, the kinds of veg that you have, what the pudding is, do you wear party hats, what is the tablescape, what happens if I'm having a Christmas lunch for 20 people, what should I do if it has 2 people, like there are so many different things within that. If you want to go deeper, I have a whole workshop on content. and you can access it immediately. You can really know why you are doing what you are doing, which is really, really crucial. So I will link it down below, nickyraby.com/content. Thanks for joining. Hope it's been useful. Let me know how you get on, and I'll see you next time.